Imagine this. You wake up one morning and feel nothing. Not sadness, not joy, just an eerie emptiness. The world outside moves as it always does. Cars hum down the street. People rush to jobs they secretly hate. Advertisements scream for attention. But inside, there's silence, a hollow space where your sense of self should be. You do everything right. You check your phone, reply to messages, put on the face the world expects. You have a life, friends, responsibilities, maybe even success. But deep down, there's a quiet, nagging question you've been too afraid to ask. Who am I really? At some point, you assumed an identity, perhaps given to you by parents, society, or circumstance. You became what was expected. But was that ever truly you, or was it a mask? A collection of borrowed opinions and conditioned desires? And if that mask were stripped away, what would remain? This is the unsettling paradox of modern life. Most people go their entire existence without ever meeting themselves. They follow routines, chase goals, and play roles, yet never confront the terrifying yet liberating truth that beneath all the noise, they don't actually know who they are. But here's the question no one dares to ask. If you don't know yourself, are you really alive? Or are you just existing, a shadow playing out a script written by someone else? Somewhere in history, someone figured this out. Someone dared to step beyond the illusion. What did they see? And more importantly, what's stopping you from seeing it? This hollow feeling you've sensed isn't an accident. It's not some random glitch in the matrix of life. It's a deeply ingrained, almost invisible force that quietly governs how you live, how you think, and how you see yourself. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the hidden, repressed part of our psyche that we deny, avoid, or fail to recognize. It's everything you are not, everything you've been conditioned to reject, but it's also everything you've never truly examined. Your fears, desires, flaws, and the parts of your soul you keep buried beneath layers of social masks. Jung argued that without confronting the shadow, without integrating it into your life, you remain trapped in a half-life, unable to realize your full potential. Yet it's not just Jung who warns us about this. Friedrich Nietzsche, forever the prophet of human defiance, spoke of a similar truth. For Nietzsche, most people live in what he called self-imposed mediocrity, failing to break free from the herd mentality. They are trapped in cultural and societal roles, never daring to transcend their preordained identities. They follow the prescribed path of goodness or normalcy without ever asking, who am I beyond all this? Nietzsche's cry was not merely for strength, but for authenticity, a call to confront the deepest part of yourself, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it shakes the very foundation of who you thought you were. Why is it so hard to find ourselves? In part, it's because society demands conformity. From the moment we're born, we are shaped by external forces. Parents, schools, media, and culture all have a hand in molding us into predictable, manageable forms. What's lost in the process is the opportunity to ask the most critical question, what do I truly want? And in that space between external expectation and internal truth, we become disconnected. The constant pull to please, to fit in, or to survive within social constructs creates a psychic void, a space where your authentic self remains locked away. You've been taught that who you are should always be subject to external validation. But if your value is only defined by others, how can you possibly know who you really are? This hidden disconnection from your true self doesn't just haunt you, it shapes you. Every choice you make, the job you tolerate, the relationships you cling to, the way you numb your discontent is often not yours. It's a reflex, programmed by evolutionary biology and societal conditioning. Your brain, wired to crave belonging, prioritizes social survival over authenticity. You chase validation, avoid conflict, and conform to avoid the primal fear of rejection. But this creates a feedback loop of cognitive traps. Confirmation bias locks you into beliefs that keep you small, while social proof unchains you to the herd. You mistake conformity for safety, outsourcing your identity to a world obsessed with metrics, money, status, likes. Viktor Frankl warned that this hollow pursuit of external rewards erodes meaning, leaving you adrift in existential numbness. The consequence? A life half-lived, anxiety masquerading as ambition, relationships built on performance, and a gnawing void you try to fill with distractions. The tragedy isn't the suffering. It's not realizing why you suffer. You become a ghost in your own life, haunted by the unlived version of yourself. To break free from this prison, you first have to recognize the prison itself. It's a radical act of defiance against everything you've been taught, against the quiet, constant whispers of society urging you to fit in, to play it safe, to be someone else. The rebellion begins the moment you stop obeying the invisible commands of external forces. The first step is to stop looking for validation outside of yourself. No longer seek approval from those who don't understand the depth of your soul. The truth is, no one else can define you, only you can. This means breaking the patterns that have kept you in a constant state of performance. It's terrifying. The freedom to live authentically is not a soft, comfortable existence. It's raw, it's messy, and at times, it's uncomfortable. But it is the only way to truly find yourself. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, the overman or superman, is a guide here. He wasn't advocating for domination or superiority over others. Rather, he encouraged the individual to transcend the limitations of society and convention, to create oneself, to will one's own existence, regardless of how society judges it. The Übermensch is someone who understands that meaning isn't handed down from the outside. It must be forged from within. This process is called becoming, the ongoing evolution of who you are. It's an active process, not a passive one. Look at historical figures who have broken free. People like Socrates, who defied the conventions of Athenian society to question the very foundations of knowledge and virtue, or consider the artist who rejects societal norms to create something truly unique, something that is purely their own expression. These individuals did not find themselves by blending into the crowd. They found themselves by questioning, by rebelling, by daring to be different. They weren't afraid to face their own shadows, to confront the deepest parts of themselves that others never dared to explore. You too must rebel against the cultural and social forces that confine you. This doesn't mean rejecting relationships or responsibilities. It means reclaiming your ability to think for yourself, to live by your own rules, and to make choices based on what aligns with your truest nature. And in this rebellion, you might lose people, comforts, and securities. But you will gain something much more precious, the discovery of yourself. Breaking free from the trap of conformity is a powerful act. And though it's terrifying, it's the only way to live a life that truly matters. The final realization, one that will change everything you thought you knew about life, may be more simple and terrifying than you ever imagined. Life begins when you stop living for others. It's that simple. The moment you turn inward, the moment you stop seeking external validation, you begin the true journey of self-discovery. This isn't about selfishness in the conventional sense. It's about radical self-honesty. It's about finally allowing yourself to take up space in your own life, to stop playing a role, and to embrace the fullness of who you are, unapologetically. The paradox is this: the more you live authentically, the more you connect to the world in a deeper, more profound way. You stop trying to force yourself into predefined roles, and in doing so, you experience true freedom. Freedom from the tyranny of others' expectations. Freedom from the need to fit in. Carl Jung's idea of individuation, the process of becoming your true self, is the ultimate expression of this journey. To individuate is to reject the masks, the labels and the societal constructs, and to uncover your deepest desires, your deepest fears, and your truest potential. It's not easy, it's not comfortable, but when you walk this path, you experience a kind of clarity that most will never know. And here's the truth that many will never understand. You can never truly live unless you face your own shadow. You can never know who you are until you look into the abyss of your own soul, confront the darkness, and emerge stronger. It's in the struggle against your inner contradictions, your flaws, and your deepest fears that you begin to understand what it means to be alive. This is where most people stop, because the journey is terrifying. It's easier to live in the illusion of comfort, to seek distractions, to avoid the difficult questions. But the ultimate truth is this: you were not put on this earth to follow a script. You were meant to write your own story. And when you do this, everything changes. Your relationships become richer, your work more meaningful, and your sense of purpose deepens. The world around you may not change, But the way you experience it, your perception of life, will transform into something profound. Okay, it's not just a philosophy. It's a way of being. The moment you realize this truth, you wake up from the sleepwalk you've been in your entire life, and suddenly life is full of possibility. You'll find that the journey toward discovering who you are is endless. Because once you begin, you continue to evolve. But that first step, the one where you decide to stop pretending and start living for yourself, is the moment life truly begins. So what are you waiting for? The world needs you to be who you truly are, and so do you.